Hello everybody, welcome into the video. This video will be focusing on Milan Kundera's 1984 classic novel, The Unbearable Lightness of Being. This book is an absolute masterclass in philosophical fiction, exploring love, exile, and existential dread during the 1968 Prague Spring. Especially if you're studying for Quiz Bowl, this book is one of the all-time favorites for question writers. There is so many high-frequency clues and lots of interesting plot points to talk about. So we're going to hop right into it with part one, lightness and weight. So we open on Milan Kundera's fundamental thesis, which is Nietzsche's concept of eternal return, imposes a heavy burden on human action. Kundera contrasts this with the German adage, einmal ist keinmal, which is standing for what happens once might as well not have happened at all, to show the terrifying lightness of a single, non-repeating life. He also draws on Parmenides' opposition between light and heavy, questioning whether lightness is genuinely positive. So here enters Thomas, the main character of the novel, who is a surgeon who falls in love with Teresa. When Thomas faces political pressure after writing an essay comparing the Czech Communist Party to Oedipus, he leaves his surgical career and becomes a window washer, using Beethoven's phrase, Es muss sein, it must be. Next, we move on to part two, soul and body. Teresa, who struggles with Thomas's many mistresses, experiences vivid nightmares, reflecting her deep insecurity. In one of her famous nightmares, Thomas stands on a platform overlooking a pool on Petrin Hill. He orders naked women to sing and perform knee bends while shooting anyone around this pool. Teresa works as a photographer during this time, documenting Soviet tanks during the 1968 invasion of Prague. The next part, part three, words misunderstood. This section details the rift between Sabina, who is one of Thomas's mistresses, and Franz, who is a Genevan professor who leaves his wife Marie Claude for Sabina. Their ideological divide is captured through a series of contrasting definitions. The main clue here is going to be Sabina's possession of a bowler hat, which was inherited from her grandfather. She wears it during any of the intimate moments with Thomas, such as during nude photography, and she treats it as her primary weapon in her war on kitsch. So the next part is going to be soul and body again. This repeating phrase here. It's going to be following Teresa's jealousy and alienation, which drives her to leave Switzerland and return to the occupied Prague, carrying her dog, Karenin, who is named after the Tolstoy character. But Karenin is a female dog, given a male name. Next, we'll move on to part 5, Lightness and Weight, in which Thomas follows Teresa back to Prague, giving up his freedom in exile. He refuses to sign a petition supporting political prisoners, and he refuses to retract his Oedipus article, which solidifies his decline in status from a surgeon to just a manual laborer. His religious estranged son Simon attempts to connect with him during this period. Next, we move on to part 6, the Grand March. Franz, the husband of Marie Claude and lover of Sabina at one time, joins a political protest movement called the Grand March. This Grand March is a march near the border of Cambodia. He is fatally injured in a mugging during the expedition, and on his tombstone, his wife, Marie Claude, inscribes the epitaph, a return after long wanderings. This section also introduces Kundera's famous theological dilemma of God's intestines. Kundera argues that either God has intestines and defecates, which makes feces divine, or God does not, making his creation fundamentally flawed. This feeds directly into his definition of kitsch as an ideological refusal to acknowledge the uncomfortable realities of existence. Next, we move on to the last part, part 7, Karenin's Smile. Thomas and Teresa move to a quiet countryside village to escape political persecution. They spend their final days alongside Karenin, the dog, and a friendly local pig named Mephisto. Karenin eventually dies of a leg tumor. Shortly after, Thomas and Teresa die together in a truck accident, and at his funeral, his son Simon ensures his tombstone bears the epitaph, "He wanted the kingdom of God on earth." Okay, so that covers the short summary and all of the clues inside. So next, we're going to look at the database and check through all these clues to make sure we are getting as many powers as possible. Okay, so here we are. We're on the database now, looking up Unbearable Lightness, should get all the questions we need from regular high school to regionals college. Just put us at 2016 because there's plenty of results to go through. So let's go through a few questions here. So here we go. So here we have that swimming pool clue. So immediately a first line power from this is from the Nightmare of Teresa. Next we have the Grand March of History. So this is going to be the Cambodian protest. And then we have the War on Kitsch, which is going to be Sabina, who wears that bowler hat. And then, of course, Sabina, Thomas, Teresa have the three names there. Okay, so we're going to move on to this question here. So it must be is going to be the Beethoven Isthmus sign clue. We have the Kitsch again, etc. Here we have that first line. Here's going to be that epitaph. He wanted the kingdom of God on earth. So that's going to be Simon giving the epitaph to Thomas here. So here we go. Marie Claude, who is the wife of Franz. So husband is going to be, that's going to be again that Grand March in Cambodia. So Asmussen again, window washer, after not retracting the communist newspaper article. That is going to be the Oedipus clue there. So next we're going to be Marie Claude here with the Cambodian clue. And then we also have Parmenides and Eternal Return by Nietzsche is also here. Next we have that same epitaph, and here's that communist and Oedipus clue. Okay, so let's find a few more harder questions. So here we're going to be mRNA. So this is going to be a 2-dot question, and here we have that Petrin Hill clue in the Nightmare of Teresa. And let's find just a few more here. Here's a pace question. So here's that Einmal est keinmal is going to be here, this second line, Grand March in Cambodia, etc. And let's find one more harder question here. Here we go. Let's look at this question, very new. So here's going to be that window cleaner clue, coming from that Oedipus communist clue here. And then finally, we'll look at this clue here, which is going to be God's intestines. It's going to be from here, as well as more of the same clues down here. So we are getting you a lot of clues here for power from high school through college. Should all be able to help out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and happy powering.